Robert Plank Show, episode 54, How to Sell on Webinars. Welcome back to the Robert Plank Show. I'm your host, Robert Plank. This is the podcast where we talk about internet marketing and making money. And boy, is this thing called webinars or selling on webinars or pitch webinars the best use of your time and the best way to make money over and over again. If you ever broke down different tasks you have to do, I'm sure that a lot of those tasks are what you could call $10 an hour tasks, right? Things like checking social media or maybe writing blog posts or writing articles. And you might always wonder, well, out of all the different things that I do, can I outsource some of that? And can I just be the creative person? Can I just be the CEO and I just sit down for just a few minutes and just do a few things that make the most amount of money? So for me personally, in my internet business, sending an email to my opt-in list makes me the most amount of money. Okay, so I have an email list of thousands and thousands of people who either bought from me or they signed up for something for free, and they can always leave at any time, so all that good stuff. But when I sit down and I shoot out a really quick message saying, go to this link and buy this thing, that is the best 5 minutes of my time out of that day. That usually results in a bunch of money just from that one thing, as opposed to maybe you post a blog post to your blog, or you edit some graphics on your sales letter, or you go and fix some typos on your sales letter. Well, that might pay off, but that's definitely not going to be that instant thousands and thousands of dollars just that day that you would be expecting, okay? So this thing called a webinar, this is where you show your screen and people hear your voice. Okay, we're not talking about a Hangout or a Ustream or a Periscope or anything crazy fancy like that. We're just talking about you show what's on your screen and you say what you're going to say. And the coolest thing about this is that, well, if you can, first of all, turn whatever you're selling into like a mini launch event, like a week-long launch event where you have this thing you're going to sell this week, right? Not just today, but all week long, maybe for 2 weeks. You say, well, on this Wednesday, we're going to open the doors to my new course. Or, so we're talking about a new course, like you say, well, I'm going to sell a real estate course. Or, you know what, the other day I was talking to someone who said, well, I'm not doing internet marketing anymore. I'm consulting for businesses who need funnels and things like that, people who need like a merchant account, people who need all these different things set up. So great. Well, that's the offer that you're going to open up this week on this Wednesday, this package that someone can buy to hire you for, say, $5,000. For $5,000, you'll set up this big long list of things that you spell out on a web page. And so what's cool about this is that, well, a couple things. So when it comes to selling products online and stuff like that, what we like to do is put the thing we're selling, the description of what we're selling, on a big long web page called a sales letter. And that's great. If someone can read that sales letter, then they can see what it is we have for sale. The problem with the sales letter, though, is it's kind of boring and there's a lot of words on it. And some people are going to read the whole thing, but a lot of them won't. And then we say, okay, well, what can we do to compress all these different things we want to get across to people? Well, we could make a video that says it all, and that way it's a little more entertaining because there's our voice, we can have music, we can have things happening on the screen, and that's kind of progress there. But what if we put the things we were going to say on our sales letter and on our video and made it into a kind of a 1 hour live show that we recorded, that we hosted on a specific time and date? That way we would show up for it, and that way we would actually finish it in an hour. I mean, imagine that. If you ran a live 1 hour webinar, a 1 hour online streaming show, where once again, there's no showing of your face involved, there's just the computer screen in front of you, usually a web browser, maybe a piece of software, maybe some kind of PowerPoint presentation, and you speak it right there. So that means that if you have a 1 hour webinar, a 1 hour time slot, it takes you exactly 1 hour to create and present that, and you make sales during that live call. You record it, and now it only took you an hour to make a 1 hour video, as opposed to if you were going to make a 1 hour video that wasn't live. How many days would that take you? How many, would you record that in little itty bitty pieces and go back if you said or ah too many times, and go back in and edit it and change things up? You'd drive yourself crazy. There'd be too much scope creep involved in that. I would rather just knock it out and get it done. Get it on the calendar, show up, It's done in exactly 1 hour. So what we're going to be talking about today are these things called pitch webinars, where like we're saying, we have something for sale, okay? And that's the most important part, is we don't want to just run a webinar just because, right? We want to at least give somebody the chance to buy something if that's what they want, right? And I mean, so we could do a webinar that's talking about this whole funnel thing, or this whole Infusionsoft kind of deal, right? And that's okay. But what if someone really wants to know about Infusionsoft? Well, you just spent an hour teaching them all this stuff, and now they're going to go and maybe be more lost than when they started, because then they say, well, great, I've got these new ideas. How do I actually, use them? Or maybe they'll go look around and go and find one of your competitors, and great, you just were such a nice person that you sent people over to your competitors to go and make sales from them, and they wonder where the sales came from. Well, they came from this one person who was a really nice stand-up guy who presented all their best secrets and then went and didn't make any money from that. So even if you haven't created a product yet, and this thing we are talking about called a pitch webinar, at the end of it, you are pitching a course that you have not yet created yet. I've done that all the time, where I create this thing called a sales letter. Once again, by the way, to see what a sales letter looks like, go to webinarcrusher.com. That's webinarcrusher.com. And so many times, and by the way, so Webinar Crusher, we've had that running for, at the time I'm recording this, over 6 years. I think 6.5 years now, and I update that whenever it needs updating. But if I have an idea for something new, then I will put in the sales letter. I'll have the pieces of the course, the modules that are coming up, but there's a specific date in the future when that's listed under that module. So I'll say, well, module 1 is about creating your 20-minute product, and module 2 is about making your 60-minute product launch. But the date on that is a date that's maybe a week or so in the future, or 2 weeks in the future. So that way I can sell this high-ticket course, and there's not really much in it yet. But there's the promise of all these things, and part of the promise is that because we're going to be chopping up this course 1 week at a time, we're all in this together, and the people who are live students of the course as we create it will actually change the shape of the way that the course is created. Okay, so whether this is this thing we're talking about that's a pitch webinar, if you are going to be presenting some kind of 1 hour presentation, and at the end, or hopefully several times throughout, you tell people to go to this URL, go to this web page, click the button and buy. This might be for a course that you have not yet created. Okay, so that's like what we just talked about, where we have the thing called a sales letter, so it displays exactly what they're going to be getting, but much of the content is in the future. This pitch webinar we're talking about, it might be for a product you already have, right? So you might already have this thing called a sales letter. Well, great. So that way it's open right now. And so that way you can look at the things that the sales letter talks about, and we can sort of think about what can we set people up for? What kind of cool demos, or what kind of cool magic tricks can we show people, or what can we do to get people caught up and on the same page so that they are ready to buy this Facebook marketing course or this AdWords marketing course? So you might already have an existing product. And even if you don't have a product, well, there's this thing called affiliate programs. So you can go and go onto a site called clickbank.com, click on the marketplace, and find all kinds of different products out there that you yourself can promote as an affiliate. So you can register a special link, you can park what we call a domain, a .com name over that link. So then you can email however much of your, however big of a list you have right now, any amount of email subscribers, and then use this tool called GoToWebinar, where what you do is you say, here's the title of my presentation I'm going to be giving for free. Here's the time and date that I'm going to be giving that presentation. And then GoToWebinar gives you a special sign-up link, a special registration link. And then you just mail that to your list. And your subscribers will click through, and you keep every day reminding them to sign up for this special thing. And then as the week goes on, then you can have hundreds and hundreds of people who are now registered for your upcoming live event, your upcoming live stream, as it were, well, of once again, just your computer screen, none of this face-to-face stuff, just your computer screen and just your voice. So then when the time and date comes up for that live webinar presentation, you present what you're going to say, open up your PowerPoint, teach them a few things, transition into what we call a pitch or a close, and then send them to that URL, and then record it, and then post that recording online on another web page later on, and then email to that too. And so now this way, a lot of cool things have happened. Those people who showed up for that live call, for that free live call, they've already made somewhat of a micro commitment. Okay, they've already decided at some point that, well, they're going to spend more time with you as opposed to just clicking a link, viewing a web page, and being gone after 3 seconds. And then the other thing too about that recording is that, you might be thinking, well, is anyone really going to watch a 1 hour video, and especially if it's a 1 hour video where there's 45, like maybe 5 minutes at the beginning of getting them ready and introducing them to me and me even getting warmed up, and then 15 minutes of maybe an overview or a 100,000 foot view or a little bit talking about what we're going to be talking about later, and then maybe 20 minutes or half an hour in there of some kind of a demonstration, and then 10 to 15 minutes of presenting an offer and telling people to buy it, and guess what, it's this bonus and that bonus. Is anyone really going to watch a 1 hour video like that? Well, first of all, the only way to know is to actually make it and see if they will. The other thing is that not everyone will, but a lot of people will if you're somewhat interesting, and if you can actually solve their problem, and if it relates to what they actually want. Okay, so if someone knows that they're losing money every single day, and they keep hearing about maybe this thing called Infusionsoft, whatever the heck that is, and they know that they need it, but they can't navigate it, they don't want to spend years learning about it, they don't know if they're going to hire the right person for it, so wouldn't it make more sense for them to hire some kind of consultant who actually knows what they're talking about, right? As opposed to just some guy in a basement or who's trolling around on message boards. Wouldn't they rather go to someone who actually does this for a living and actually appears to be doing very well? And not to get too much off on a tangent, but this live webinar presentation you create, you can then get it transcribed, put it on a Kindle book, put it on a CreateSpace book, and now you look even more professional because now you say, well, now this person who teaches Infusion or is an Infusionsoft funnel consultant, well, they run live webinars, so that's one point for them. So that way, if someone else comes along and someone else is almost identical to you as far as what it is they seem to have, well, if you're the one who does webinars and they don't, now that's one thing that you have that they don't. And then if this other person doesn't have a book and you have a book, if you have a blog and then you post the webinar replay on your blog, now that's something else you don't have, or that's something else your competitors don't have that you do. So running a webinar is a great little credential tool. And the thing is, the right people who are the most desperate and who need your solution right now, they will watch and listen to your video. And some of them might scroll around and stuff like that. And even if they're not interested in an hour-long video, because some people, and I know that I'm this way a lot of the times, I'll be watching someone's webinar pitch or someone's 1 hour long video, and after 10 minutes, I'm like, that's it, I want it. Like, I don't need to know anything else. If I wait longer, I'll get talked out of it. I just want it, and that's why what we do is we will put the webinar replay on its own page and have a button where they can just skip to the sales letter right now. And that's kind of the same thing I do when it comes to doing a 1 hour live pitch, is that I'll have a URL, and sometimes even just like halfway through the call, I'll say, by the way, here's the URL to go and buy. And I'll keep going, but if they just want to jump ahead and just grab it and just buy it, then they can do that. So as we're ramping up in today's call, I have a couple quick things to tell you. And the first is, don't believe the voodoo, okay? Don't believe that, and I've heard some of these guys and they say, well, here's my 35-step process to doing a webinar. And I'm just like, that's too many steps. And I'm looking at that thinking, well, you're looking at this way too closely and you're looking at it in way too many pieces. And if we think about it, there are only a few steps we need to do to get it just about right when it comes to these things like pitch webinars. There's a lot of ways to go wrong, But the good news is that even if you've already done your first pitch webinar and you didn't really know what you were doing, and didn't even go that great, you didn't think, there's probably only a few little things that you need to tweak. And those tweaking those things will make a big difference, but it's not like you're way out in left field. Usually what you have already or what you have in mind for your next pitch webinar is almost there. But it irritates me a little bit. I have known people like this where they'll study really great stage speakers, for example, right? Because if you think about it, a webinar is really close to being a stage speaker, only it's way safer and way more fun and way less scary because you're sitting at your computer. You're not live on stage in front of a big crowd, even though that sounds like a lot of fun to me, to be honest. So you don't need to pay super close attention to doing all these exact things. And I know these guys who they'll study these great stage speakers and they'll literally write down word for word everything these guys say, including the ums and the ahs, and they'll stop literally every half sentence and say, well, he was trying to say this, and he was setting up this, and he was saying that, and I'm like, you're looking at this in too many steps. You don't need to look at this as a 100-step process. Look at this as maybe 4 or 5 phases, okay? And the way I like to look at these phases for a pitch webinar is this thing called WWHW, which stands for why, what, how to, and what if. Okay? And without going into getting too much off on a tangent, but what I would like you to do in any kind of, especially pitch webinar that you're doing, look at breaking this down into these 4 sections. Okay? Why, what, how to, what if. I mean, what about a 5-minute why? About a 15-minute what? We want about let's just say a 20-minute how-to, and then a 10-minute what if. So what does that give us? About 50 minutes. Okay, about 50 minutes. And so those 4 sections, if you just present whatever it is you're going to present, first in terms of why are people here? Why listen to me? This thing I'm about to tell you, why is it so important, right? Setting up this big problem, setting up maybe the frustrations and the things that led them to you. So that's 5 minutes worth, and that's usually you might hear speakers talk about this in terms of, well, this is where you set yourself up and you talk about all your achievements and accomplishments. And what ends up happening is people talk for half an hour about their big car, their big house, their big family. They're so lucky. And it's like, well, I don't care about your house, your family, your car. I just want to know about me, why I'm here. So then the what is about, because and if we do this right, this whole 1 hour is centered around demonstrating something. And if you can show software, that's great. If you can't show software, show your checklist or system or some kind of before and after, okay? So later on, we're getting into the demo of the how-to, but first 5 minutes of why, and then 15 minutes of what. So the what is, well, here's a couple steps. Here's what I want to show you. Here's like a 4-part process to going from a sales funnel that sucks, a sales funnel that's great, okay? And then you break down these like 4 different things. And then, so that's 15 minutes. And then 20 minutes is the how-to of the demo. And this is going to fly by really fast. And in my experience, something that takes about 5 minutes, if I plan 20 minutes worth showing on a webinar, it comes out to be just right. Because we're going to be wanting to move very slowly. And we want to make sure that everyone sees exactly what we're going to do. So even though for you might just click around, when we're doing a live webinar, we want to just move our mouse as little as possible, actually keep our hand off the mouse. That's a huge one. By the way, a lot of people, when I first see them running webinars, and they'll be so nervous, and they'll have their hand on the mouse cursor, and the mouse cursor will be dancing all around the screen, and it's just like, I'm focused so much on your mouse cursor dancing around the screen that I can't even pay attention to what you're trying to tell me or what you're saying, okay? So anyway, we're going to be being very basic, and more basic than you probably ever thought you'd ever have to be, but that'll be just about right to make sure that it has the most, the wide appeal, because we all want to believe, right? We all want to believe that if we just focus on the stuff that's fun for us and like the really crazy advanced stuff, that, well, that's just the crowd, the people that I have. My people are really smart and really advanced. But in any kind of list or any kind of niche you have, most of your crowd are going to be newbies, or even if they are advanced, they probably need to go back to the newbie area, and that's just how it is. And I mean, we all think that that everyone's going to think exactly the way we do, but they don't. And what's also sad is a lot of people, they don't want to look stupid, right? I mean, no one wants to look stupid, so a lot of your subscribers, they'll pretend to know this and that just because they don't want to seem stupid, when in fact they actually do need to know the very, very basics. We need to know that we're all on the same page here, okay? So don't believe that voodoo and that, customers aren't advanced as you think. Some of them are, but you want to focus on the majority of them, and you can sneak in little tidbits for the advanced people if you want to. The other thing is that they're not paying as much attention as you think, okay? If you screw up once or twice in a 1 hour webinar, they probably aren't even looking, right? And I know that, this is probably true for you, is that most times when you get an email from a marketer or you click over and watch some video from them, you're not taking super close attention about what they're doing. And a lot of times you'll probably forget about what this or that marketer did a week or two ago. Now, the thing too is that some of your buyers are just buying from you because they're your competitors and they're just spying on you. Some people are buying from you just because they're confused and they just say, well, this looks just about good enough. Let me just buy this because I think this is what I need to buy. Okay, so there's different reasons that people buy, and I would say that some people will wait and they want completion. They want you to explain that whole offer, and that's why the sales letter is good, because you can actually list out the things that they're buying. And even if you're not much of a writer, we use a tool called papertemplate.com. And even if you just listed 10 bullet points about what this offer is, what this product is that someone's about to buy, and then you present what you're going to present on your 1 hour pitch webinar, that's good enough. And they can just see your pitch webinar, click over onto your sales letter, and if all that sales letter said was you're about to buy this package that contains this, and this, that is close enough. So as we're ramping up to this thing about how to sell on webinars, I want to ask you something. Is that, do you have a gap or do you have an awkward pause between your content and pitching? And I mean, maybe you do, maybe you don't. But what's good about all these things we're talking about today, like you do this live demonstration, well, the cool thing about this is that what I'm about to tell you is that you don't have to basically present 2 webinars in one. And this was huge for me, and I hope this is huge for you, is that we don't want to have a call that's 3 hours long or 8 hours long or things like that. And we want to have it be just 1 hour, but we also don't want to just come out of the gate and just start selling stuff, because it's like, well, I haven't really earned it. And, if I just start a call and say, here, buy my stuff, I'm thinking, well, why would they want to go buy my stuff? I haven't even set up the problem. I haven't even told them. I haven't even shown them any of this cool stuff. I'm just saying, buy my stuff right now. And so we fall into this trap of thinking, well, I need to teach them some stuff. If I'm selling if I'm selling a course on, say, membership sites, I think, okay, well, I'm going to be spending the last 10, 15 minutes pitching my membership course. So what I have to do is pile up a bunch of tips about, let me think. Let me make some tips about how to craft an offer, and some tips about how to retain members, and the tips about how to drip out content. And that's all great, but what you end up doing is having a really dramatic and sharp and awkward transition from, I'm teaching you this tip, here's another tip, and then, oh yeah, buy my stuff over here. You see how there's kind of a difference? At first, you're being their buddy, some kind of teacher or something, and then suddenly you switch into used car salesman mode. And this is a problem that I really had issues with. I mean, I'm not the best speaker, right? I might stumble over my words or say ums and ahs or kind of stop for a second to collect my thoughts, and that's fine. You don't have to be the best speaker, and in fact, it's better if you're kind of a little bit raw, a little bit genuine, stuff like that. But the thing that's probably going to kill your sales is this gap, this chasm between teaching some tips, and then I kind of pause, and I'm going to be nervous, and then suddenly, oops, my voice changes. And have you seen this? And maybe this has happened to you. Maybe you've done this, and that's fine. The first step is realizing you've done it, so you can begin to, and you can take steps to do better next time. Is that once I started looking for this is huge, is that suddenly their voice kind of drops a little bit, or they start talking a lot slower, or just like, it's almost like you're talking to a different person. It's almost like, is that the same person talking, or did someone go and sit in for them for this final 15 minutes? So what works a lot better is you have this demo, and we can call this teaching long division, selling the calculator, okay? So here's the thing. Why, what, how to, what if? The what if at the end is pitching someone an offer. The how to in the middle is demonstrating that thing you're demonstrating. Okay. And so if the thing you're demonstrating can be, like we said, your system or your piece of software, then then you'd be a jerk to not sell me, right? So going back to that membership site example, we want to sell a course on membership sites. And so what we can do is for our how-to section, for our demo section, we can demonstrate our membership plugin, or a collection of membership plugins. Or if you're using someone else's membership software, you can say, well, here's the whole system I've created. I mean, very few people actually sell a system or a checklist. And I mean, it's not that much work for you, because if you're teaching membership sites, you probably do membership sites, and you probably have a way of running membership sites that's different. I mean, and setting up is different than everyone else. So why not put that into some kind of an organized little package so that now someone can basically clone what it is that you're doing. And so if your offer is this Infusionsoft consultant kind of thing, where we think about, okay, what's the offer? The offer is you provide the service, but the service includes these different checkboxes, these different things that you do. So what you can do is you can show, okay, well, here's a site that doesn't have these things that I do, and here's how crappy it performs. And now here's a site that does do the things that I do, and that's the demo. The demo is a before and after. You show the site without you and the site with you, and how much better the site looks, how much easier the site is, how if you can show some numbers on how many more sales you get, if you can show numbers on how much more money it makes, show numbers on how much better the members stay logged in and paying, and there you go. Your demo is, well, without me, here's the things that the site is missing. With me, here's the things that I've done to this site. And if you just stopped there, then it would seem like you're kind of a jerk. Like, well, you're just kind of teasing me. You're setting me up for nothing. But if it then transitioned into, okay, well, here's what the site is like with me. Now, wouldn't it be great if I could do this for you, if you would let me improve your business? And then, so here's the package where we do that. And then you introduce the exact name of the package, and of course give it a cool name so that it's like you're a real business, because you are. And then break down the different pieces of it. And you're going to have to repeat that part a few times just to make sure everyone is on the same page about what parts are in your course. And then you give them the price, maybe some scarcity, maybe some things like that. So as we're ramping up here and getting to the meat of this podcast, I want you to think about that. Can you have a demo where the demo involves your solution, and so that way you avoid that gap or that awkward pause between your content and your pitching. Okay, time now for a feature presentation, how to sell on webinars. I'm going to give this to you in 4 little pieces: the platform, the mechanics, the cool factor, and the push button software. And the thing about all this is that I like to really show the demo before closing. I would like to have the core of my 1-hour presentation be a demo, and the demo is that thing that I'm selling. That way a lot of the selling is done before I even get into so-called closing mode. Now, we said before that we have 5 minutes of the why, which we can say like, well, here's the mindset shift that caused you to get on this path, or the things that they've tried before that have led them to you. 15-minute what, which is the stuff you're going to be telling them about today. 20-minute how-to, which is the demo, and then a 10-minute what if or a close, where you introduce your offer, you lay out the pieces of it, and you tell them to go and buy that thing right now. So first of all, the platform. How do I even say this? I don't like to badmouth or diss other marketers, but if you've heard my podcast before, you know that I like to teach and not or. I don't want to say, well, you can use any of these 10 different webinar platforms. I just want to give you the one. I want to tell you how I do it, and you can do it. And then later on, once you master that, if you want to get fancy, then you can go and change up the system. But let me tell you exactly how I do it. I use a platform called GoToWebinar. And if you join us inside of webinarcrusher.com, and the monthly package on that page, we will give you your very own GoToWebinar account, at least at the time that we're recording this podcast. So webinarcrusher.com will give you a GoToWebinar account. GoToWebinar is the best way to run a webinar. That's all I'm going to say. Is that, there's people who they say, oh, there's this invitation one, which sucks. You can do a thing called a Google Hangout. which also sucks for a couple reasons. And one of them is that, well, I don't want to see someone's face, right? And people say, well, they can see your facial muscles, and they can tell that you're genuine when you're selling. What I can see is I can see your little tiny bed behind you in your studio apartment, and I can see the reflection in your glasses, so I can't really even see your eyeballs. And the one thing that no one talks about with Google Hangouts is it's based in a browser. So what does that mean? It means that, well, I click on a link and I see your live presentation, and in a Google Hangout you can actually show just or most of your computer screen and very little of your web camera. But my problem is it's in a browser tab, so someone can just accidentally click and close that browser tab, and then the webinar is done with. They've dropped off. As opposed to a GoToWebinar, it's in its own separate program. So it's a lot harder to click away and cancel, and it's a lot harder to bury it underneath other browser tabs. So use GoToWebinar. An account is included in our Webinar Crusher course. Use PowerPoint. The reason for that is because that makes it easy, especially when you're closing. It makes it easy to display what it is that you're going to be talking about next. Use Camtasia to record that presentation. That way you can post it up later. And then use a $30 Logitech headset. So go on Amazon.com and search for Logitech ClearChat. That's the headset I'm using right now for my podcast. It's a little dinky $30 headset. I probably break one a year, if not more often, and then I just buy a new one. I don't like to use the boom mic with the pop screen and all this stuff. I just like to keep it simple and have a little headset that just plugs right into the USB port of my computer. Call it a day, close enough. So GoToWebinar, PowerPoint, Camtasia, and a Logitech headset. That's as far as the platform and the hardware and the software I use to run this thing called a webinar. Now, as far as the mechanics go, let's talk about this second part here. The things you need to know about mechanics are WWHW, the stack, price drop, and about the bullet drip, and about just closing. And once you close and pitch something, you just close it right down. Okay, so WWHW is what I keep drilling in your head. 5 minutes of why, 15 minutes of what, 20 minutes of how to, and 10 minutes of what if. And if you actually join, when you join webinarcrusher.com, we have a 4-part course on all this. We have all my PowerPoint templates. So literally, you can open up this PowerPoint template and just change the words that are in there to match your offer, and then cool, you call it a day. Now you can easily have webinars just the way that I do. So we have this, and we haven't really dug deep into the pitching part, the what if part, because as I said, the demo does most of the work, right? The why is just you ramping up. The what is leading into the demo. The demo is the demo where we say, I'm going to show you this really crazy and cool thing, and you show it to them, and then now you would be a jerk to not tell them how to go and get that, okay? And so as part of this thing called the close, I don't want to get too detailed into this, but when we have the close, we first want to be proud about the thing we're offering and actually announce it and say introducing ... the name of the package you're selling, right? If I'm introducing Webinar Crusher, introducing Membership Queue, I actually have my demo, then the demo's over, and then as I say, well, how cool would it be if you had this? How cool would it be if I could just show you how to do boom, 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 boom? Well, I've put it in a brand new package for you, and I call it Introducing Membership Queue. So as far as the close goes first, you make it absolutely clear what it is you're selling. And I see people just kind of go in and they start saying, okay, well, here's module 1, here's module 2. And I'm saying, well, wait, of module 1 of what? What the heck are you selling? So that's the first thing. And it seems simple, but you might start to notice the next time you attend the webinar as an attendee, some of these things missing. So you say, first of all, introducing, boom, here's this big package I have for you, okay? And then what we're going to do is tell them, well, what's in it, right? And we tell them, well, first of all, this is a course, this is a package that will allow you to do all these cool things, allow you to do this, set up a membership site tonight, create your whole sales funnel. You can have your first paying member this week. You can do all these things by creating content, and we have all these possibilities in front of them, and then say, and it's all broken down to you in these pieces, right? Here's the first module of this course, here's the second module, here's the first plugin, here's the first bonus, here's all the things, and then you just kind of go through and spoon feed, I guess, out each piece of the sales letter. And you don't want to spend too much time on each thing because you're probably going to have a lot of different pieces, but we want this to all kind of make sense, okay? And what's really cool too is if the the problem you were setting up early on and the demo that it solved, and then now the modules, if they kind of match in the same order, if that makes sense, the things that you solved in your demo, that helps too. But we want to have this all kind of line up, right? And so if you said at the beginning, well, here are these 4 problems that we all have when it comes to membership sites, okay? And what I want to do is I want to fix them for you. And then on your demo, you say, okay, well, I want to show you how to set up the membership site right now today. I want to show you how to put your first piece of content on there right now today. I want to show you how to put your payment button on there right now today. And I want to show you how to get your first payment right now today. So you set up those 4 problems, you fix those 4 problems in the demo, and then as far as your pitch, if each of those problems that gets fixed is in itself a module, if that makes sense. So we have one module about setting up the membership site, one module about setting up the content, one module about setting up the button, one module about traffic to get your first sale. Now it's like, okay, I keep seeing this sequence of 4 over and over again. Now it's really getting drilled into my head. So when we're saying, well, here's what's on module 1, here's what's on module 2, it's fine to have like a separate slide. So you say, okay, here's a slide. The title is module 1, whatever it is, bullet points about what it is. But eventually, once you start listing a lot of things, once you list module 5, 6, 7, or bonus 1, 2, 3, and all this stuff, after a few minutes, now I'm thinking, okay, now I'm lost because I don't have a picture in my head about everything that's in this. So after we have a couple of slides like this, we want to go back and have all of everything that you've talked about so far all on one slide, all on one page, okay? And this is what we call a stack or a one sheet. Most webinars miss this. Even these guys who they claim hundreds of thousands of dollars every time they run a webinar, even though they only run a webinar once a year. So it's easy to do that, right? It's not like you're doing that every single week. But most people miss this. Most people don't have a stack or a one sheet. Everything you talked about so far listed out on one slide. Okay, so you can say, okay, now here's what's in the first, here's module 1, module 2, module 3, switch back to the list of everything that you've listed so far. Then you say, okay, here's module 4, module 5, module 6, then switch back and say, here's all on one slide, module 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now here's bonus number 1. You get DVDs of the course. All right, bonus number 2. Here's another slide where you get one-on-one coaching from me. Bonus number 3, you get this pack of WordPress themes. Then you go switch back to another one single slide that lists module 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, exactly what those things are. And then bonus 1, 2, 3, exactly what those things were you just said. So now you're just piling on, you're adding to the stack these different things. And if you want to get even fancier, you use a thing called bullet drip. And another thing that most webinars are missing, but when you join us in webinarcrusher.com, all of our PowerPoint templates have a thing called bullet drip. Have you ever looked at a PowerPoint slide where someone's showing you a slide with like five bullet points and you have to read through all of them, and then they go, boom, next slide, and now suddenly there's like 5 more bullet points, and now you're like, whoa, I just got all this new information. But what we do in our pitch webinars especially is drip out the bullet points. Here's what I mean. Is you bring up the PowerPoint slide, you see just one bullet point. Talk about that. You click the button, and now bullet point number 2 shows up. Talk about that, click a button, bullet point number 3 shows up, but now the thing you're talking about is the bullet point that just appeared right now on the bottom. So that way people can't read ahead, because if you think about it, if you didn't do it that way, and someone went and switched to a new slide, boom, here's 5 different things, and you're talking about the thing on top, but you're probably reading the thing on the bottom, and then if you zone out for a second, now is he talking about bullet number 2, bullet number 3? This way, when you have a slide that just shows the bullets one at a time, it's easy to see where we're at, and it's easy to not be overwhelmed. And we're doing this thing called the stack, where I have a whole slide from module 2, a whole slide from module 3, and then I switch back to the slide that keeps adding in the things that we have just added to the offer. Now it feels really cool, like, whoa, they keep piling on, And if you want to get super duper fancy, you can add a dollar value to each thing you're piling onto the offer, and then keep on totaling it up. So it's like, well, cool. Now, out of all these modules that we had so far, now it's a total value of $3,824. Awesome. Now we're adding in the bonuses. Now it's a total value of $7,552.10. Awesome. So then you can say, now I've given you all these pieces of the offer, right? Here's module 1, module 2, module 3. Now here's what we've piled on so far. And if each module was worth $297, cool, total value so far is this. I'm going to switch back and say here's bonus 1, bonus 2, bonus 3. Switch back to that one sheet where we keep adding it on. Now it says total value. And then Now it becomes time to ask for the money, right? And here's where everyone gets really nervous. But you got to turn it into a game. You got to make it fun. And what you can do is say, well, here's this big giant number, but it's not going to be $8,000. What if it was just $4,000? Well, it could be if we made it for this, 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 and this. Or if you paid these things separately, it could be all this and this. But you're not even going to pay $19.97. You're not going to pay $9.97. You're not going to pay $4.97 today. It's just $2.97 today by going to this URL. And then what we like to do then is tell them to go to that URL. Have another slide telling them some more reasons to go, like, well, it's got this 30-day refund period. These are the people that have had success with our course. I want you to do this right now. We're closing the offer in X number of days. By the way, here's the URL again. Okay, and then go here right now, and what I want you to do is click over and go to this URL right now, click on the button to pay X number of dollars, create your account right now today, and the URL to go to right now, and I will actually spell out each letter in the URL to go to. And I'll say, well, you've got to go right now because we're closing it down, or because we're going to increase the price, or whatever it is that you have set up, we're actually going to do it. And then because it's a webinar, it's showing your live screen, I just about always drag my browser window onto the screen and type in the URL and go there with them. Another real quick thing that seems silly, but it helps so much. So that's what we want to do, is we want to have our webinar structured as a why, what, how to, what if, and then show them the demo. And when we're transitioning from the demo to the close, lay out the offer, build up the price, drop the price, tell them to go, tell them to go, tell them to go to that URL, and seriously, tell them 5, 7, 10 times to go there, and then close that call down. And this is another pet peeve. I don't like to have a long Q&A session. I'm just thinking, well, if I'm going to be presenting something, and if there's going to be all these questions at the end, well, then maybe those are things I should have incorporated into my presentation. The other thing too is that when we have questions at the end, there's always one or two hecklers, people just with the questions way out in left field that would be better answered privately. But that's just one thing that always kind of ticks me off, as people, they think that they have to talk for an hour and then pitch this offer for an hour and then open up the questions, and it always ends with a whimper instead of a bang. And I would rather end with a bang and say, here's all this stuff, go here right now. There's literally nothing else to do than go here right now. We're closing the call down. Go to this webpage right this second. And the reason why I started thinking this way was because one time at the end, someone told me to do a question and answer session at the end, unmute everybody and leave the call open so everyone could say bye now. And I unmuted everybody and I left. I left it open for a couple hours, and I came back and someone was practicing the violin, and I heard violin music in the background because, well, some people just stay to the very, very end no matter what you do. So if people are going to stay to the end is go here right now and buy this thing. And if there's a couple people who didn't buy for this or that reason, then that will be part of my follow-up emails or things I put into the sales letter later in the week. But I don't want a couple of weird outliers, a couple of weird stragglers to prevent the normal people from buying from me, if that makes sense. So mechanics, WWHW, stack, price drop, bullet drip, and then closing. And closing is mostly just a matter of keep sending them to that URL. Keep telling them to go and type in that URL. Give them some good reasons to go there right now. Number 3, the cool factor. So then, now that we have the basics in place, right? We know that we're going to use GoToWebinar, PowerPoint, and Camtasia, and a Logitech headset to run this. We know that as far as the content, we're going to use this thing called WWHW and have all these cool little things for closing. And then we want to go back and look at the cool factor, okay? And here's what I mean is that we want to have the title of our webinar something that's really awesome and something that has a promise and things we'll actually solve for them. That way we're not just saying, well, this webinar is called membership sites. So no, what are 3 really awesome things you could promise me? Like we just said, have your membership site online today, have it ready to take payments in a couple of minutes, and get your first member this week, something like that. Now we're talking about, now we're really talking turkey, right? Now we're really cooking, where now I'm telling you the reasons to show up, because if you show up, I'll show you all these things that no one else tells you, right? Everyone else will say, you'll learn, and by the way, don't say learn, say discover, right? People say, you'll learn the best membership platform you could use. You'll learn how to start maybe thinking about recording videos. No, Don't talk like that. Talk more interesting like. Say you'll discover you'll uncover how to make your first money this week. You'll finally be able to break through the frustrations of not having a membership plugin installed. I'll give you my exact clone to, in one click, drop in a sales letter, a membership site, and all that cool stuff, and built-in upsells and things like that. So we want to have a magic trick, right? The demo, and don't screw this up, right? I keep telling you, have a demo in the middle and show off a checklist or a piece of software, but don't make it something that's super complicated. Don't make it something that's not fun. We want to make it where we push a button and it's exciting, right? So like I was saying, we have a membership course called Membership Cube where it's centered around WordPress clones. So what you can do is log in to a brand new site, click a button, and then boom, everything's in place. Now that would be a cool magic trick. And then we want to pile in, as part of adding the cool factor to our webinar, we want to figure out what the no-brainer is, okay? And this might just be a matter of like what we can call the thud factor. So like, if I say, well, in Webinar Crusher, let me pull it up and look at what the stack is on that. So in Webinar Crusher, we have a 4-part course, and the first module is how to make a 20-minute review product, which is cool because you can just like have your first video done right away. 60-minute product launch is module 2. Module 3 is a 4-week class, so that way you actually have a product for sale. And then module 4 is evergreen traffic, so that way you end with this whole system in place, right? That way you have something that you pitch, you have a product you created, you have extra free product for lead generation, and you have traffic to make sales over and over again. As far as the bonuses, we have a webinar starter kit, which includes our paper template plugin, our video player plugin, PowerPoint templates, webinar checklist, our PowerPoint crash course video. It includes our webinar opt-in plugin, so you can subscribe people to your list and webinar at the same time. We have a library of hundreds of video recordings of our pitches. Bonus number 4 is a VIP webinar production where I will actually host your webinar for you, which means that I'll set up the session, I'll click the button, I'll record it, you go in there and do your magic, and once we're done, I'll give you that recording for you to do anything that you want with. And then it includes a 401-page printed manual and a 4-disc DVD set shipped right to your door. So isn't it a no-brainer? If you were planning on running webinars, and I guess I'm not really trying to sell you on this, but I'm just saying, as an example, if you were planning on running webinars, what were you going to do? Were you going to sign up for a GoToWebinar account and then kind of fumble around in the dark and plan stuff? But would you rather I show you exactly step by step how I do it so you never get stuck? Would you rather I ship you the DVDs and the book and give you all the templates so you can just fill in the blank? You don't have to start anything from scratch. I don't even record your first webinar for you. Well, of course. So this is the no-brainer. We want to pile in so many things, and what I like to do personally is just kind of give myself an hour or half an hour to just go into dreamland and say, if I could just wave a magic wand, and how do I even explain this? If reality was not there, right? If we were not being realistic, what would I pile in on this just to make it like an absolute no-brainer? Would I run the webinar for them? Would I be on the call with them? Would I hypnotize them just before the webinar call? Let me just list all these things and then cross out the things that aren't very realistic. So that's step number 3 in webinars, the cool factor. Figure out your hook, add your magic trick, and your no-brainer. And the 4th thing is push button software. And I honestly think that if you don't have any kind of software, if you're in a niche where software doesn't really apply, figure out a way to get it to apply. Or look around and actively look for iPhone apps especially, or web-based services or things like that where some kind of software can apply, okay? So like we talked about like the membership clones, or for example in weight loss, if you had some kind of like a meal planner or meal calculator or a calorie counter, but any kind of push button software will help you so much because that gives you everything. That gives you the hook and the magic trick and your demo, and then it makes your offer and selling a lot easier because, I mean, information is good and a course is good, But if you think about it, if we're putting ourselves in the shoes of our buyer, why wouldn't someone buy a course? Well, they say, well, it's a lot of work to go through all these 14 hours of training or however many hours there are, right? Or they think that, well, I'm going to go through all this training, but is it out of date? I don't know. I'm going to go through all this training and now I'm going to be at the square one because I've learned stuff, but I haven't done anything. As opposed to if you can have some kind of done for you or some kind of software, you just say, well, you push the button. You don't have to learn stuff and apply it. You push the button. And if you can mix the two, that's even better. If you can mix the stuff and say, well, I'm going to give you the training if you want it, but then there's also the software if you want the shortcut. Okay, so how to sell on webinars. The platform is GoToWebinar, PowerPoint, Camtasia, Logitech headset. The mechanics, WWHW, which means why, what, how to, what if. Have a stack, a price drop, bullet drip, closing, and WebinarCrusher.com shows you all that cool stuff. If you've ever wanted to either up your game with webinars or run your first pitch webinar, or you wondered why the last one didn't work so great, get Webinar Crusher. We'll show you how to do it the right way. The cool factor, which means your hook, magic trick, and no-brainer, and push button software, any kind of push button software to make the demo something that they've never ever seen before. As we're winding this call down, I want to give you a few webinar no-nos, a few things to avoid, and we're going to plow through these really quickly. First thing, you don't have to script your webinar. You don't need a slick word-for-word polished webinar, and it's not really going to make that much of a difference, okay? So just say what you wanted to say for a 1 hour webinar. As far as the WWH part of it, I'd say it's probably about 20 slides for me. Especially like the demo is going to be the meatiest part of that course, but a lot of the slides you're just setting them up for the demo, telling them what the demo is going to be. After the demo, I switch back to PowerPoint and explain what demo I just showed them. As far as the close, the pitch, I'd say that's always about maybe 10 to 15 slides, which sounds like a lot, but it's not, because remember we talked about the one sheet, because you have this, you tell them what your offer is, you have a slide for module 1, module 2, module 3, and then you have the one sheet showing the pieces you've presented so far, the first 3 modules, and then go back to bonus 1, bonus 2, bonus 3, and then you have the one sheet now has module 1, 2, 3, and bonus 1, 2, 3, so you can see how switching back to the stack really adds all these extra slides, okay? So just have loosely outlined what you want to say, and the way I think about it as far as PowerPoint slides for a webinar, the PowerPoint slides contain things that I either would have forgotten or would be too afraid to say, so when the slide shows up, now I just have to say what's on the slide. Number 2, for webinar no-nos, don't worry about how many or how few attendees show up. Just promote it all week. And if you have a huge turnout, great. That means they want to hear what you have to say. If you have a low turnout, that's fine. You'll get them on the replay. But people drive themselves crazy, right? They say, oh no, there's 2,000 people registered. I'm going to be so nervous. Well, why? You're still talking on the same computer screen. You don't have to look at the questions people type in, just present what you were going to present, and now it's way easier for you to make the amount of money you wanted to make. Or they say, oh no, only 20 people are registered, no one cares. It's like, well, which is it? Are you afraid that there's too many or too few? So the answer is just do the show you wanted to do. It's your business. You can set your own rules. And the only thing is just, well, if you do it and if you give it everything and it doesn't make the amount of money you want, then you can readjust. But don't psych yourself out before you've started. Number 3, don't mention the time or the date of your webinar. Keep it evergreen. It ticks me off. People list out the exact day and the exact year and the exact time of day. And I'm thinking, but now you can't even use this in a month. In a month, people are going to think this is out of date. So don't mention the date. Just keep it evergreen. That way you could still use that recording a year or 2 from now, or use it as part of your sequence. Because a lot of the times you're going to run a pitch webinar and it's going to go great. And you're going to be like, whoa, I was really on my game that day. There's no way I could do that better if I wanted to. So now I'm going to take that recording and I'm going to send that to my list and send that to all my new subscribers. So if someone signs up a year from now, then my follow-up sequence will send them to that replay, because that's the best one I've ever done of that product. Number 4, don't go on for too long. Okay, people get bored and people will drop off an hour in, they'll drop off at the top of the hour. So don't run your webinars at like say like 4:30 p.m. Run your webinars at like 4 p.m. Right? Because if you run your webinar at 4:30 p.m., people are going to drop off right at 5, and they're going to drop off at 5:30 for both those reasons, because they're going to have some kind of appointment at 5, and they're going to be bored after an hour. So I see people when they brag about running an 8-hour long Google Hangout, and that's great for you, but you could have crammed it all into an hour. Or you could have cut the fat and only talked about the most important things and stayed away from the advanced topics and just been in and out in an hour, okay? 45 minutes or so of teaching, 15 minutes of pitch. Just trust me on this. Webinar no-no number 5. Don't get too fancy, okay? So you don't need to do a Google Hangout. Like you just don't, okay? No one needs to see your face. It's better if they don't. Show them the screen. And you know what? Even when people talk on stage, think about this. If someone talks on stage at a live event, they're up on stage. You don't have to see if they got a little zit, or if their eyes are moving all shiftily, or if they're drinking their bottle of water. They're way up there on stage. So don't get too fancy. Don't even use a web camera. Don't unmute the audience. Don't poll the audience. If you want to ask audience questions, like rhetorical questions, or have them type into the chat box because you can read those and no one else can, that's great. That's great. But like things like polls suck because it kills 5 or 10 minutes just waiting for all the results to roll in. You're not going to get the answer you want to prove your point. It's going to take all this extra time, and I mean, maybe you might not even have enough people, or maybe they'll have a lot of people, but they're not awake enough to vote. And so it's easier to say, well, who here knows what Infusionsoft is? Type it in the chat box, and then you just get a feel based on the chat messages that come in, and you don't have to set yourself up for failure, okay? So none of this, well, on the live call, there'll be this low price, right? Or I'm going to give you a prize just for showing up. Don't do any of that stuff. Just fill up the call and then present what you're going to present. Webinar no-no number 6, just have one presenter, okay? You don't have to have a team of people. You don't have to you talk and they talk and you talk, or you teach and they pitch. It's just too much, okay? One guy's in charge. One guy's running the show. If you can have in the first 3 minutes somebody get the crowd excited and they introduce you, that's great. But then that person should just mute out and be done, okay? And especially only have one person closing. Don't just close and say, here's the offer, and then unmute some other guy that you have. Just, you're the only one. You're talking, you're closing, that's it. No roll call. Don't have 10 different other employees introduce themselves. You can have the 3-minute person introduce you, but then it's all your show, okay? Present and then close it down. Don't go too long between webinars. This is the final webinar no-no, number 7. Because your webinar muscles will become weak, okay? So run at least one pitch webinar per month and figure out how to just get 10% more people to show up, and just sell 10% more products than you did in the previous week or the previous month. This is just one focused hour that you can record and use again and again, so it doesn't make sense to get yourself all psyched out or wait years between running webinars. So closing thought on how to sell on webinars. Are your competitors running webinars? Well, if so, attend them. As much as it makes you cringe, see what they're doing, attend some of those webinars, and check out which do's and don'ts from today that you now notice. I mean, maybe they have that gap between pitching and content. Maybe they go on for too long. Maybe they're missing a bullet drip or a stack, or their stack's too long or confusing or not believable, or there's a stack but no price drop, or they don't pitch the URL enough times. But whatever it is, check it out, because you're going to start to notice, and like I keep saying, the meat of it is good. Usually the meat of it is good, but there's just a couple quick hangouts, a few oddities that need adjusting. And by the way, if you're one of those people who wants to up your webinar game and sell 10% or 20% more on your webinars, or even a lot more just by adjusting the little things, then go to webinarcrusher.com and join our course. There's one version of this at the moment where you just have the like the training and all that cool stuff and all the library and templates and the discs and everything. And then there's the monthly option. We will actually give you a GoToWebinar account for cheaper than GoToWebinar itself sells them. How do we do that? I'll never tell. So webinarcrusher.com to run your webinars, to sell more products. And think about this. whatever the cost, whatever the monthly cost is of the webinar service you're using, then all you have to do is just sell $1 more than that monthly cost, right? If the monthly cost is $97, then just use webinars to sell a $98 product once per month, and then you've made more than your money back. But webinars are the most fun part of my business and the most focused hours, and I can actually split my business from before I ran webinars to now that I do run webinars. And I think you're going to have a lot of fun with this and make a lot of money. So go out there, have fun, make money, use webinars, join webinarcrusher.com. I'm Robert Plank, and thank you. Thanks for listening.